Tim Maia's Que Beleza, also known as Imunização Racional, is a song that plays on traditional Brazilian rhythms while interacting with American funk sounds as well. While one can hear the obvious Brazilian funk and R&B influences in the song, like the horns that we hear currently, there's also a heavy tone of American psychedelia. On the base level, we can look at Tim Maia's history and assume from the lyrics that this is a relatively psychedelic and cultish song. During this period, Maia was doing a lot of LSD in a Brazilian cult called the Rational Culture, also the namesake for this album. They believe that when one dies, you don't reincarnate or live forever, rather you transport to the so-called rational world. Further, the cult placed a heavy emphasis on the beauty of the natural world, which explains this lyric, Que beleza é sentir a natureza. This is an important background as far as understanding the origin of the song. However, the aspects of this song that are far ahead of its time are much more significant in its musical features. The song starts with a basic Brazilian conga rhythm and Latin brass progression. The horns and piano in this song react to create a sort of deep R&B pop melody. If you listen close enough to this part, we can hear the piano essentially going back and forth between G and C minor in a loop. However, it is played in a staccato Brazilian clave rhythm. This is pretty emblematic of the other music of this time, while adding a little bit of R&B flair to it. Maia then sings, right here in the chorus, ooh, 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 que beleza, referring back to this beauty of the natural world. This section gives us a pretty good idea of where Maia's head was at lyrically, while also displaying his musical influence like Brazilian jazz, bossa nova, as well as samba. However, the guitar that we hear starting right in this sequence is clearly inspired by 70s American psychedelic rock and funk. The guitar is fuzzy, distorted, high-pitched without being punky or thick and low like 70s heavy metal. Rather, Maia, for lack of a better term, has a face-melting, minute-long guitar solo that brings up images of Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Hazel of Parliament Funkadelic. The guitar starts as a sort of slow, bluesy Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan type riff. However, it starts to speed up at this part and sound a little more like the psychedelic funk we hear in Parliament. While using this type of guitar effect and riffing wasn't totally unheard of in Brazil, it was very uncommon during this time, and for that reason this album wasn't received well initially. However, Maia still sticks to his influences, blending these Latin polyrhythms with American-style blues and funk guitar. Knowing Maia's history with drugs and cults, this interaction does make sense. However, we can tell that it was completely ahead of its time and paved the way for many of the Brazilian and funk R&B songs after it.